I still remember that dinner. My wife casually mentioned she'd be going away for 3 days with her girlfriends, some wellness retreat upstate. She didn't even look at me when she said it, just kept cutting her steak, like she was talking about buying milk. I sat across the table, sipping water, thinking, it's time to end this show. For 6 months, I'd known the truth, that the kids weren't mine, that my wife thought of me as convenient, dependable, but not successful enough, and that she'd been lying for years. Across the table, Veronica twirled pasta around her fork, occasionally glancing at her phone face down beside the plate. The kids picked at their food. Our daughter Emma hummed something from a princess cartoon, while little Noah built towers out of breadcrumbs. A regular evening in our small apartment on the 4th floor. The smell of fried onions, the neighbor's TV buzzing through the wall, drizzle tapping against the window. Outside, the city lights blurred behind streaks of rain. It was late March, but winter refused to let go. Veronica lifted her eyes and said it again, calm as ever. Friday to Sunday. Don't worry, I've planned everything. You'll manage the kids, right? I just nodded and kept eating. She hesitated for a second, expecting questions like I usually asked. Where? With who? How much? But not this time. I simply said, it's fine. We'll be okay. Her surprise lasted a moment. Then she shrugged, returned to scrolling, and smiled at something on the screen. That smile, I knew it by heart. She used a smile like that for me. I thought back to the day 3 months earlier when everything fell apart. She left her iPad on the kitchen counter before work. She always forgot things, keys, wallet, you name it. I accidentally brushed the tablet while pouring coffee. The screen lit up. A message thread was open. I had meant to read it, but a few lines caught my eye, and my world turned upside down. She'd written to someone about how tired she was of pretending to be a happy wife, how she wanted him to find the courage to change things. And then, about me, predictable, stuck at the same job for 5 years. No ambition, no spark. I deserve more. The man's name was Gregory Miles. Her boss, the executive director at the logistics company where she worked as a financial controller. They'd been together for over 2 years. She wanted to leave me, but was afraid of losing her financial safety net. She even wrote that the kids might be his. My hands went numb. But I didn't throw the mug, didn't scream. I took screenshots of every message, sent them to my email, deleted the traces, and put the iPad back exactly where it was. That night, I acted normal. Even made a joke while we watched TV. She came home late, tired, kissed me goodnight. She had no idea. A week later, I ordered DNA kits online, a discreet company with great reviews and confidentiality guarantees. Told the kids it was a school health check. They didn't question it. Emma giggled. Noah asked if it would hurt. I smiled. Not at all. Just a quick test. 10 days later, the results arrived. I opened the envelope standing by the window, hands trembling even though I already knew. 99.9% biological paternity excluded. Both children, not mine. Emma, with her curly hair and freckles. Noah, with his serious brown eyes and the way he fell asleep hugging his teddy bear. Not my blood, not my children. I sat down, staring at the playground below where neighbor kids were kicking a ball. Inside me, something went cold, heavy and final. No tears, just exhaustion, and a strange, terrifying sense of relief. From that moment, everything became clear. No scenes, no shouting, just quiet precision. I found a lawyer, Olivia Raines, family law expert, tough and pragmatic. She reviewed the documents and told me the case was strong, but we'd need more evidence. Judges like proof, real proof. She advised me to hire a private investigator and move my savings to another account. 2 days later, I met Sam Kravitz, a retired cop-turned-PI. We sat in his old Ford parked by a warehouse on the edge of town. Coffee, cigarette smoke, rain on the windshield. I told him everything. He listened, scribbling notes, and asked one question. What do you want as a final result? Full proof, I said. Video, audio, financials, everything. I don't want her or her lover to escape through a legal loophole. He smirked. My kind of client. We agreed on terms, encrypted messages only. He started the next day. And now, sitting at that dinner table, watching Veronica talk to the kids and text someone else, I knew Friday would be the final act. She wasn't going to a retreat. She was meeting Greg Miles in a rented cabin outside the city, a company getaway. Supposedly. Sam had already confirmed it. One of her co-workers, bitter after being denied a promotion, had agreed to record everything in exchange for $50,000. Greed and jealousy, powerful tools. Doors open for those who know how to wait. I cleared the table, made tea, turned on a cartoon for the kids. They cuddled up beside me under a blanket. Emma rested her head on my shoulder. Noah stared at the screen, thumb in his mouth. I ran my fingers through their hair, feeling that sharp pain deep under my ribs, the kind that never left. I loved them, raised them, but they weren't mine, and that changed everything. Friday came gray and wet. Veronica packed her dresses, cosmetics, and phone. I sat in the kitchen, drinking coffee, listening to the rhythm of her suitcase zippers. She gave me her list of rules: bedtime, vitamins, art class, allergies. I nodded. Then she looked at me. You've been quiet lately. Everything okay? Work, I said. New project. Maybe you should take a trip too. She smiled faintly and walked away. An hour later, the cab honked outside. She kissed the kids, waved at me from the doorway, and left. The cab pulled away, her suitcase in the trunk, and vanished into the stream of morning traffic. I stood by the window for a while, watching the taillights fade, then closed the door and exhaled. It begins. My hands trembled slightly. I clenched and unclenched them, forcing myself to stay calm. No emotions, just a plan. By noon, my phone buzzed. A message from Sam Kravitz. She's here. Checked in at a cabin in Pine Brook, about an hour outside the city. Greg Miles arrived last, black SUV, champagne, and bags of food. 3 other couples from the company joined them, all upper management. No outsiders. Sam had planted the cameras the night before, paid the property owner extra for silence. The footage streamed live to a secure server. I didn't open the link. Not yet. I didn't need emotions. I needed evidence. That evening, I drove the kids to Veronica's parent house on the other side of town, an old suburban home with a garden and a greenhouse. Her mother, Lydia, opened the door, smiling wide, pulling Emma and Noah inside. Her father, Nicholas, came out wiping his hands on a rag, always fixing something. I told him I'd been sent on an urgent business trip, a factory emergency. Could they watch the kids until Sunday? Of course they could. They always helped. Lydia was already promising to bake Emma's favorite pie. Noah clung to my leg, refusing to let go. I knelt, hugged him, told him I'd be back soon, that he was my brave little man. He sniffled and nodded. Before leaving, I handed Nicholas a sealed envelope. Please open this Sunday night. 8 o'clock sharp. Not earlier. He frowned. What's in it? Just something you'll need to read. I said quietly. He looked puzzled but agreed. I hugged my kids one last time, told them I loved them, then walked away without turning back. Every step to the car felt like dragging a chain. That night, I returned home and began to pack, methodically, silently. Clothes, documents, diplomas, toolboxes, birth certificates with my name in the father field. Old photos, Noah's first steps, Emma's 8th birthday, our trip to the coast 3 summers ago. Every memory sealed in cardboard boxes. By dawn, half the apartment was empty. I left the furniture, the appliances, the things we bought together. Took only what was mine. The last thing I packed was our wedding photo, framed in wood. We were standing outside City Hall, smiling, hands clasped, eyes full of hope. Veronica was radiant. I looked like a fool in love. I placed the photo face down in the box and taped it shut. Several trips to the car, boxes stacked in the trunk. Our elderly neighbor peeked out. Moving already? She asked. Just taking some old stuff to the lake house. I lied. She smiled. Good for you. I locked the door, pocketed the key, and drove off. As I turned the corner, I looked up at our window one last time. The light was off. It felt like the light in my head went out too, after 8 long years. The old house stood on the city's edge, narrow streets, leaning fences. It had belonged to my grandfather, Peter Hayes, a retired machinist. He'd spent his whole life there, and after he passed, the house became mine. I'd been renting it out to a young couple, but a month ago, I told them they had to leave. Family coming back, I said. Now the place was empty, waiting. I arrived at sunrise. The sky was a mix of pink and steel gray. Inside smelled like dust and old wood. The windows looked out onto an overgrown garden. Beyond the fence, the skyline shimmered, and in the distance stood the headquarters of Miles Transport and Logistics, Greg's empire of glass and steel. Perfect view. From here, I'd planned their downfall. That evening, my lawyer, Olivia Raines, arrived with coffee and her briefcase. We sat at the old chip kitchen table. Papers spread out between us. DNA test results, screenshots of the messages and financial statements. Small monthly transfers from Greg to Veronica's account, disguised as bonuses. The trail was clear. Olivia took notes, asked for timelines, names, witnesses. Finally, she looked up. This case is rock solid, but it could take months if they fight back. Custody, emotions, they'll play dirty. How long? I asked. 2 to 3 months if they cooperate. 6 or more if they don't. I nodded. Time isn't the issue. Justice is. She pulled out the draft of the lawsuit contesting paternity, demanding reimbursement for years of child support, divorce, and property division. We worked until the sky outside turned black. Sunday evening, Sam sent the final report. A compilation from the cabin. I opened it once. No sound, just the images. Greg and Veronica, laughing, drinking, kissing in front of their co-workers. During a drunken game of truth or dare, Greg boasted about having 2 kids from a woman who isn't my wife. Veronica laughed and kissed him again. That was enough. I saved the video in 3 places. An external drive, the cloud, and a USB lock to my safe. Redundancy is reliability. That night, I waited. Veronica came home around midnight. Sam's tracker on her car showed her arrival. I could picture it. The dark apartment, the silence, the missing clothes, the empty shelves. Her voice calling my name, then the panic as she checked every room. The first phone call, then the second, the 10th, dozens of messages. Her tone shifted from confusion to anger to desperation. I lay on my grandfather's couch, listening to her voicemails, her voice trembling, breaking. Where are you? Where are the kids? What's going on? Please answer me. She called her parents next. I didn't hear that conversation, but I knew how it went. Nicholas called me afterward. He told me they'd opened the envelope at exactly 8 p.m. Inside were the DNA results, the screenshots, the bank transfers, and my letter. 3 pages. I'd written it the night before, every word chosen carefully. I thanked them for the years of kindness, for treating me as family. Told them the truth, how I'd found out, how I'd checked, why I couldn't keep living in a lie. I asked them not to blame the kids. They were innocent. When Veronica arrived, pale and shaking, Lydia was crying, Nicholas silent as stone. He said only one thing. You destroyed your family with your own hands. Dmitri handled it with dignity. You brought shame to all of us. That night, I barely slept. The wind whistled through the chimney. The house creaked like it was remembering. I thought of Emma falling asleep to bedtime stories, of Noah handing me drawings with stick figures holding hands, me and him. I knew I wouldn't be their father anymore. Not legally, but the memories and the pain stayed. Monday morning. Her call started at 7 a.m. By 9, I finally answered, sitting in my car outside the factory, speakerphone on. She screamed, cried, accused me of cruelty, betrayal, abandonment. I waited for her to run out of breath, then said, flat, almost emotionless, we'll handle everything through our lawyers. The lawsuits filed, paternity contest, divorce, evidence submitted. There's nothing left to discuss. Silence. Then her voice, trembling. It's not true. It's all a mistake. He means nothing to me. I love you. Please, we can fix this. I cut her off. Are Emma and Noah Greg Miles' children? She stammered, denied, hesitated. I said coldly, I have the DNA results. And the video where you're kissing him, and he admits he has 2 children with his mistress. Silence. Then a short sob, and the line went dead. I put the phone on the dashboard, started the engine, and drove to work. My hands trembled a little on the wheel, but I forced them steady. At the plant, no one noticed anything. I went through the motions, checked blueprints, answered questions, fixed problems. During lunch, my supervisor, Victor Sanders, stopped by. How's everything, Dmitri? You look tired. All under control, I said with a straight face. He smiled, patted my shoulder, and left. I finished my lunch, buckwheat, a gray meat patty, and compote that tasted like nothing. I chewed mechanically, mind already on the next move. Tuesday was all paperwork. Olivia sent me a checklist for court, income verification, property deeds, copies of bank statements. I scanned, printed, signed, everything precise. Meanwhile, Sam kept tracking Veronica. She went to work, tried to act normal, but rumors were spreading fast. People talk. They always do. Every night she drove back to her parents, where the kids stayed. She called Greg Miles again and again, dozens of times. He ignored her, declined, blocked her number. Sam's text made me smirk. Classic. The captain leaves the ship first. That evening, I heard an engine outside, too expensive for this neighborhood. Through the curtains, I saw a black SUV with tinted windows pulling into the driveway. The door opened. A tall man in an expensive coat stepped out. Broad shoulders. Confident gait. Greg Miles. He looked exactly like his photos online. Clean-cut designer watch, charm painted over arrogance. I opened the door before he could knock. We locked eyes. He smiled tight and rehearsed. "Can we talk?" Man to man. I let him in. The hallway smelled of old wood and dust. He glanced around, peeling wallpaper, a flickering light bulb, the ancient fridge humming. His lips twitched in disgust. Then, like some kind of ritual, he placed a 20-year-old scotch and a thick envelope on the table. 5 million rubles, about 70 grand. He leaned back, crossing his legs, voice smooth and corporate. "Look, I didn't come here to fight. I came to make peace. No need to drag this through court. You're a smart man, Dmitri. Let's be adults. Take this, move on. Buy a new place. Take a vacation. Veronica made mistakes, so did I, but no one meant to hurt you." He smiled as if reading from a script. "The kids, they think of you as their father. Why traumatize them? Leave the papers as they are. Forget all this noise. You'll get what you deserve, and we'll all move on quietly." He tapped the envelope. Money for silence. Money for dignity. I stared at him. Inside, something cold spread through me. Pure, precise fury. This man sat in my grandfather's house, the house that still smelled his tools and tobacco, and tried to buy my truth, like it was just another corporate deal gone wrong. I leaned forward, my voice almost a whisper. "You knew the kids were yours?" He paused and smirked. "Of course. She told me 3 years ago, after one of those nights. But it worked for everyone, didn't it? You kept things stable. She got her family. And I got to see my kids now and then. Win-win." I started laughing. First quietly, then louder. It wasn't joy. It was the sound of something breaking. When I finally stopped, I opened the envelope, counted the stacks. Real money. Clean, crisp, perfect. Enough to start over, maybe even disappear. I pushed it back toward him. "I don't sell the truth. Or my dignity. See you in court, Mr. Miles." His face drained of color. He stood, almost knocking over his chair. "What do you want, then?" "Justice," I said. "Confession. Consequences." He clenched his jaw. That's when I pointed at the phone on the windowsill, recording light, blinking red. Every word of this conversation is on tape. His mask cracked. He grabbed the bottle and the envelope, cursed, and stormed out. "You'll regret this. I have friends, money, influence. You'll be finished." I smiled faintly. Then I'll finally be free. The door slammed. The SUV roared away into the night. I locked up, saved the recording in 3 places, sent copies to Olivia and Sam. Another card in the deck. Another layer of proof. The next morning, Wednesday, the counterattack hit. As I drank my coffee, scrolling headlines, one article made my stomach twist. Engineer blackmails company executive over alleged affair. The piece was polished, professional. It painted me as a bitter failure, a man stuck in one job for years, jealous of success, fabricating evidence to extort money. Anonymous sources claimed I was paranoid, unstable, obsessed with revenge. Greg moved fast. Classic PR warfare. Smear first, discredit later. By the time truth catches up, the crowd's already made up its mind. Hundreds of comments. Some doubting, most mocking. I called Olivia. She was furious. "This is defamation. We'll sue them." But I already had a better idea. Thursday became Counter-Strike Day. I sat at my laptop for hours, building my post. Not rage, structure, facts, proof. My name is Dmitry Sokolov, 38. I'm a process engineer. 3 months ago, I discovered my wife had been cheating on me for over 2 years with her boss. The children I raised and loved turned out not to be mine. Here's the evidence. Judge for yourself who's lying. Then came the files. PDFs of DNA tests, stamped and signed by experts. Screenshots of their messages. Bank transfers from Greg Miles to Veronica Miles, every month for years. And finally, a 5-minute video from the cabin. Laughter, kisses, and Greg admitting he had 2 kids from a woman who isn't my wife. Followed by the audio recording of our meeting, his confession, his bribe. I ended the post simply, "This isn't blackmail. This is my right to truth and dignity. If you think a man should raise another man's children in silence, hit dislike. If you believe truth still matters, share this." I read it again and again, checked every word, then called Olivia. She approved. "Legally sound," she said. "Let it burn." Publishing the post didn't violate privacy law. It was a defense of dignity. I took a deep breath and hit post. Then I put down my phone, stepped onto the porch, and lit a cigarette. The city glowed under a fading orange sky. For the first time in months, the air felt clean. An hour later, detonation. Notifications exploded like fireworks. Shares, comments, messages. A digital avalanche. People wrote their own stories of betrayal, debated in the comments. Some called me a hero. Finally, a man who stood up for himself. Others accused me of cruelty. How can you abandon children you raise? But the story kept spreading unstoppable. By evening, thousands had seen it. By midnight, tens of thousands. Local news outlets picked it up. Factory engineer exposes company director's affair. Proves children aren't his. Journalists message nonstop. Interviews, live shows, TV. I declined them all. This wasn't entertainment. Greg Miles tried to ruin me with one newspaper. I answered with the truth. Online, where the world could see. By Friday morning, the post hit 50,000 views and 2,000 shares. My phone buzzed every few seconds. I muted it. At work, people looked at me differently. Some with pity, some with respect. Some just didn't know what to say. My boss, Victor, called me into his office. Closed the door. "Is it all true?" I nodded. He sighed. "You did the right thing. If you need anything, I've got your back." I thanked him and went back to work. That evening, another knock on my door. I hesitated, glanced through the peephole. A woman, maybe 40, stood outside. Gray coat, dark hair to her shoulders, calm posture. Elegant, tired eyes. I opened the door halfway. "Can I help you?" Her voice was quiet but steady. "My name is Anna Miles. I'm Greg's wife." For a moment, I couldn't speak. Then I stepped aside and let her in. We sat in the kitchen. She refused tea, went straight to the point. She'd been following the story all week, the article, my post, the comments. And then she said, almost gently, "Thank you. You finally gave me the reason I needed to act." Her story unfolded slowly, every word heavy. 3 years earlier, she started noticing changes. Late nights, hushed calls, perfume that wasn't hers. No fights, no drama. Just quiet observation. She hired private investigators, one after another, copied his texts while he slept, traced financial documents. Anna wasn't just a wife. She was also the co-owner of the company, daughter of its founder. She had access to everything. Over months, she uncovered trail affairs and embezzlement. Small sums moved through fake consulting firms, false invoices, non-existent offices. Her husband had been stealing roughly $250,000 a month for years, more than $2 million total. And among the women, Veronica. Anna said Greg convinced her she couldn't have children, made her feel broken, guilty. Meanwhile, he was fathering kids behind her back. Mine, or rather, his. Half a year ago, she overheard him on a call, laughing. There's some idiot raising my kids. Works out perfectly. That's when something in her snapped. She'd been waiting for the right moment. A public crack in his image. Something her father couldn't ignore. My post gave her that. Anna reached into her purse, placed a flash drive on the table. 5 years of financial records, she said. Proof of fraud. Use it in court. Show who he really is. I turned it in my hand. Why are you helping me? Her smile was thin, bitter. Because I want him to lose everything. Career, money, reputation, freedom. He took 8 years of my life. I'll take the rest of his. We shook hands, silent allies in a quiet war. When she left, the house felt even colder. The flash drive in my palm weighed like a grenade. The next 2 weeks were pure preparation. Olivia dug into the files with forensic accountants. Everything checked out. Dummy companies, fake signatures, ghost addresses. Greg's scheme was airtight on paper until now. 20 million rubles. Felony fraud. Up to 10 years. But first, we had to finish the family case. The divorce, the paternity ruling. One war at a time. Veronica tried reaching out. Dozens of messages. Long, desperate, apologetic. Begging to start over. It was a mistake. I was lost. Please, we can fix this. I read them, then deleted them. One night, she came to the gate, drenched in rain, screaming my name into the dark. I watched from the window, unseen. Her face looked older, worn out, hair messy, coat soaked. She stood there 20 minutes before walking away. For a second, pity flickered. Then I remember her laughter in those messages, the way she called me boring, predictable, a loser. The pity vanished. Sam kept sending updates. Greg was bribing employees, offering hush money, threatening anyone who talked. But after my post went viral, most of them refused. Too risky now. One of them, Svetlana, the woman who had filmed the party, went public. She gave an interview to a local investigative site, describing years of corruption and affairs. Her story matched mine detail for detail. Greg's empire was cracking, and the truth was no longer just mine, it was everyone's. The headline blared across local feeds, and then the regional press. Vice over business. How a logistics director turned work into his private lounge. Photos of Miles' transport and logistics offices ran beside it. The scandal was no longer just local. It was everywhere. Gregory Bell, Anna's father, the founder and patriarch, called an emergency board meeting. He was old school, reputation over profit, duty over image. Greg Miles arrived with talking points and a rented PR team. But the independent audit was already in motion. Outside accountants dug into contracts, cross-checked vendors, pulled archived emails. When Bell demanded a straight answer and got corporate fog instead, he cut through it like wire. Betrayal in a family is the same as betrayal in business. You betrayed my daughter, so you will betray this company. In fact, you already have. Leave before I take this to the police. A week before a court date, I got a message from someone unexpected. Elaine, an accountant from Veronica's department, careful, apologetic, asking to meet in a crowded cafe downtown. She was thin, early 30s, short hair, glasses, hands trembling around a coffee she never drank. Leaning in, she whispered. 2 weeks earlier, Veronica had come to her apartment and asked her to falsify backdated financials, create fake service contracts and relabel personal transfers as bonuses and reimbursements to legitimize Greg's payments. She offered 200,000 rubles for the job. Elaine refused. Veronica threatened her career and reputation. Now Elaine was terrified of being dragged in as an accomplice or witness. I did what I could to steady her, told her to speak to a lawyer immediately, give a voluntary statement, document the bribe and threats. If she testified willingly, she'd be protected. I gave her Olivia's number. Elaine nodded, calmer now. Another witness. Another crack in the facade. Days blurred, slow and fast at once. I worked my shifts, went home to my grandfather's house, cooked simple meals, walked the overgrown garden as spring finally took hold. Blossoms on the apple trees, warm wind, birds at dawn. I tried to imagine life after court, plain and quiet, no drama, no lies. But first, the finish. On the eve of trial, Olivia came by with the final brief. We sat for hours at the kitchen table, files spread like battle maps. She rehearsed everything, how to sit, when to answer briefly, when to expand, what not to say, how to handle Veronica's tears or Greg's posturing. I took notes in my small notebook, the one that had become my second spine. Then she asked, looking me straight in the eye, "Are you absolutely sure you want to see this through?" No turning back. "Yes," I said, no hesitation. She exhaled, a tired smile softening her face. I'm proud to represent a client who still believes in principles. There aren't many. Morning of a hearing, I woke before dawn. Hot shower, clean shave, strong coffee, the dark navy suit I bought for this day, polished shoes, white shirt, a steady knot in the tie. The mirror showed a gaunter face, deeper lines, tired eyes, but a steady gaze. It was time. Sam pulled up at 8 on the dot. We drove mostly in silence, the city rising around us. Traffic hum, gulls over the river, footsteps on sidewalks. I thought of the kids. What had Veronica told them? A business trip? A lie? Did Emma and Noah think I'd abandoned them? That was the thought that cut deepest. But truth matters more than temporary comfort. A small crowd waited at the courthouse. Journalists, cameras, microphones, curious onlookers. Someone had leaked the docket. We moved through without answering a single shouted question. Olivia walked slightly ahead, a shield. Sam covered the rear. Metal detector. Stairs. Courtroom 12. It was small, severe, wooden benches. A high bench for the judge, flag on the wall, air that smelled like paper and nerves. We took the left table. Veronica sat on the right with her attorney. Young, expensive, too confident. Her face was pale, eyes swollen from crying. I looked away, not from pity, but from the ache of remembering the person I'd once loved. Greg arrived last, 5 minutes before the start, immaculate in a black three-piece, watch flashing under fluorescent lights. He sat in the back corner with his lawyer, older, razor calm, all angles and ice. In the third row, I spotted Anna beside her father, Gregory Bell. Their faces were stone. At 9:30 sharp, the judge entered. Mid-50s, gray hair, no makeup, the kind of presence that quiets a room. We stood. We sat. She read the case number, the parties, the claims. Begin. Olivia rose, set her files in a clean stack, and delivered the spine of our case, clear, steady, unadorned. Petitioned to disestablish paternity for 2 minors, Emma and Noah. Identification of the biological father, Greg Miles. Restitution for years of support. Dissolution of marriage. Division of marital assets. She submitted DNA results from an accredited, independent lab. Chain of custody, signatures, certifications. The judge put on her glasses, read, asked precise questions about timing and procedure. Olivia answered with statute and method, no heat, just law. Veronica's attorney jumped up, claimed the tests could be fabricated, that they were taken without the mother's consent, violating the children's rights. Olivia didn't raise her voice. She cited the relevant sections of family law that allow genetic testing when paternity is in question and a parent has reasonable cause, then handed over the lab's licenses and quality control certifications. The judge nodded and entered them into the record. Then Veronica took the stand. Her lawyer guided her to the microphone. She spoke in a breaking voice, wiping tears. She married for love. The children were born in love. Everything after was a mistake, a moment of weakness. She still loved me. I had abandoned the family without giving her a chance to fix it. She begged the court not to take a father from her children, that social fatherhood matters more than biology. Each word cut like glass. I kept my face still and my hands clenched under the table. The judge listened, then asked, level and direct, do you admit to marital infidelity, Ms. Sokoloff? Veronica faltered, looked at her attorney. He gave the slightest nod. She lowered her head. Yes, there was a relationship with a colleague, but that doesn't prove the children are his. There could be error. We request an independent retest. Olivia was ready. She submitted bank records, small, steady transfers from Greg Miles's personal account to Veronica's personal account, beginning the month Noah was born. Memo lines. Gift help. Thanks. The judge frowned. Ms. Sokoloff, why would an unrelated man be sending you monthly payments for years? Veronica stumbled through a story about performance bonuses. Olivia produced a letter from Miles Transport HR confirming that official compensation was paid to Veronica's company payroll account. And these transfers were off books from Greg's personal account to hers, entered into the record. Then it was Greg's turn, called as an interested third party. He straightened his shoulders and walked to the stand as if the floor belonged to him. His attorney asked gentle, leading questions. Greg kept his tone cool. Yes, I know, Miss Sokoloff. We've worked together for years. Any payments were lawful bonuses for complex projects and overtime. There was never any romantic or intimate relationship. These accusations are the fantasies of a bitter, jealous husband. Olivia waited, patient as gravity. When Greg's attorney finished, Olivia stood, slid a thick stack of pages from her folder, and began to read, slow, clear, precise. Printed messages, timestamps, screenshots, flirty lines, hotel plans, rented apartments, talk about the kids. Our little ones look just like you. When will you finally divorce so we can be together? How much longer do I have to put up with that bore? The room went still. Greg's face drained, his jaw locked. He tried to wave it off, said screenshots would be faked. Photoshop, nothing real. Olivia didn't argue. She just clicked the remote. The projector hummed to life. On the wall, video from the company's cabin retreat. Good quality. Clear audio. Greg and Veronica on a leather couch, arms around each other, kissing, laughing. A voice off camera during truth or dare. Any kids out of wedlock? Greg, drunk and proud. 2, with one gorgeous woman. Officially, I don't claim them. Some idiot's raising them for me. Laughter. Glasses clinking. 5 minutes. No one in the courtroom moved. Veronica covered her face. Her shoulders shook. Greg sat frozen, fists clenched, colorless. His lawyer leapt up, objecting: privacy, consent, exclusion of illegally obtained material. Olivia answered calmly. The recording took place on private property with the owner's consent, in a group setting. One participant, Svetlana Komarova, an employee, was filming for the company archive and is ready to testify under oath. The judge stepped out for 10 minutes, returned, and ruled. Admitted. The video is relevant and lawfully obtained. Then she looked straight at Greg. Mr. Miles, approach. A beat. Do you acknowledge biological paternity of the minors, Emma and Noah? Silence stretched 1 minute, then 2. His attorney hissed into his ear. Greg stared at the floor. Finally, he exhaled, raised his head, voice rough. Quietly, yes. They're mine. A wave of whispers rippled through the benches. Phones went up. Pen scratched. The judge's gavel cracked the air. After a brief recess, Olivia played the audio from my house. The night Greg came with cash. His voice was unmistakable. Yeah, I knew 3 years. Veronica told me. It worked for everyone. You kept it stable. She had a family. I saw the kids without strings. Why ruin it? 5 million. Let's make this go away. And my answer, I don't sell the truth or my dignity. See you in court. Another objection. Another denial. The judge noted the recording was made in my home with the owner's consent. Admissible. Then Anna Miles asked to speak. The judge allowed it. Anna stood at the lectern, steady, unshaking, described years of serial infidelity, the Urbaran gaslighting, the PI reports, and submitted excerpts from the flash drive. 5 years of payments routed through shell vendors, gifts from mistresses, siphoned company funds. Her attorney added that the divorce was filed, a full external audit was underway, and materials were being prepared for law enforcement. Her father, Gregory Bell, rose and, with a curt nod, confirmed. I initiated the internal inquiry. We have serious financial misconduct. Mr. Miles is terminated and locked out of systems. Greg exploded, shouting about conspiracies, revenge, blackmail. The judge's voice changed, sharp as a blade. One more outburst, and you will be removed. He sank back down, red-faced, breathing hard. Eva's attorney looked defeated. The judge recessed for deliberation and promised a decision in an hour. We stepped into the hallway. Cameras. Questions. Olivia said nothing. Neither did I. I stood by a window and smoked, watching spring light over the city. Olivia touched my shoulder. We've effectively won, she said softly. Now we wait. An hour later, we were back in our seats. The judge stood and the room rose with her. She read the ruling, measured, concise, final. Petition granted in full. Paternity disestablished as to Emma and Noah. Biological father recognized as Greg Miles. Civil records to be amended accordingly. Dmitry Sokolov relieved of child support obligations upon entry. Greg Miles to reimburse 2,800,000 rubles for past support within 3 months. Marriage dissolved. Marital property divided per inventory. Financial materials regarding Mr. Miles to be referred to tax authorities and law enforcement. Veronica sobbed into a handkerchief. Her attorney wrote silently, face like stone. Greg stared at nothing. I sat very still, hands folded on my knees. It was over. Official. Legal. Final. but there was no surge of joy, only a wide, quiet emptiness. In the corridor, Olivia shook my hand. "Justice, clean and solid," she said. "He'll pay. Financially, morally, maybe criminally. We handle logistics, entry date, payment window, enforcement, appeal timelines." No appeal came. Outside, the sun was almost warm. People hurried by, laughing, on calls, carrying coffee. The world didn't change because of my case. Only I did. Sam drove me home. I hung up the suit, sat on the couch, stared at the blooming garden, tried to find the feeling I thought victory would bring. Found only exhaustion. Weeks slid by in a strange routine. Factory, home, quiet dinners, friends with careful words. I threw myself into repairing the old house, new windows, paint, pruning the orchard, planting shrubs. Work with my hands dulled the memories. 2 weeks later, Olivia texted. No appeal for Miles. The judgment was final early. He agreed to a payment schedule. The first transfer arrived within the week. I replied, "Thank you," then went back to painting the fence. Sam's sources brought more news. Criminal charges, embezzlement, misappropriation. The company filed a civil claim for 22 million rubles. Greg hired lawyers, tried to bargain. Bell refused. The investigation moved forward. Veronica and Greg left town for a regional center 300 kilometers away. New jobs, a small rental, a shrinking circle. Under debt, fights, resentments. They fell apart in 3 months. She moved back with her parents and the kids. He stayed behind, a middle manager with a ruined name, trying to stay out of prison. Irony did its quiet work. Now Greg was the man who paid support and saw the children rarely. The role I had carried, except I had done it with love, not knowing the truth. He did it knowing, without love. The reimbursements came in 2 transfers. I fixed the roof, insulated the walls, updated plumbing, bought basic furniture, saved the rest. Money didn't bring happiness, only confirmation that truth held. Summer pressed in, heat, dust, the hum of cicadas. The house transformed, clean, light, livable. A small porch looking out on the trees. Work promoted me to senior engineer. I started the gym 3 nights a week. I slept better. The pain dulled, changed shape. One Saturday in July, I drove to a giant home improvement warehouse for lumber, boards, fasteners, tools for a garden gazebo. I got lost between pine and cedar, scanning price tags and density charts. So I went to the counter for help. She was around 36. Brown hair pulled into a loose ponytail, blue-gray eyes, a clear, honest smile with a scatter of freckles. Company t-shirt, jeans, sneakers. She walked me through the options: grain, moisture resistance, longevity, calm and patient, showing samples. I asked questions. She answered, and then something flickered. Familiar, like a memory I couldn't place. Her face, the way she spoke, the little gestures, I knew them from somewhere. She looked closer too, eyebrows knitting, searching her memory. Then her eyes lit up. Dima? Dmitry Sokolov. I nodded, surprised. Marina? Larina, class 17, 2005. We stood there grinning like kids. Old classmates. Same row in 9th grade. Exams, school dances, silly crushes, then different colleges, different cities, different lives. 15 years. We started talking right there at the counter and forgot the lumber. Marina was divorced, raising her 10-year-old daughter, Alice, alone. She had an engineering degree like me, but after the divorce, she'd moved back here and taken the warehouse job for stability and hours. I gave her the short version: divorce, the case, my grandfather's house, the repairs. She listened without judgment, like someone who had already walked through fire. We swapped numbers. She suggested coffee. To catch up and just be human, I said yes immediately. A week later, we met at a quiet cafe downtown. Summer patio, cold lattes, pastries, laughter spilling out over old stories. Teachers, classmates, graduation, first crushes. Then we ease into the present. She told me about Alice, bright, funny, loves to draw, wants to be a designer. About the ex who showed up rarely and paid support when he remembered. She spoke calmly, like the wound had already scarred. I told my story carefully. She didn't prod or preach. She just listened. And when I finished, she put her hand on mine. "You did the right thing," she said softly. That kind of honesty takes courage. Something heavy in me loosened. We started meeting regularly, once a week, then twice, then more. Movies, long walks by the river, simple dinners, drives out of town. Marina was open, unpretentious, quick to laugh. She teased me for my spycraft, PIs, and evidence, but she valued my stubborn honesty. With her, everything felt easy. We talked about work, fears, hopes, plans, nothing to hide. Late August, we were walking under old oaks in the city park, the air smelling of leaves and earth. She stopped, faced me, eyes steady. "I'm glad we found each other again," she said. "You're different now, deeper, stronger. Life tempered you. I like who you become." I told her she arrived exactly when I lost faith in people. And she proved that not everyone lies. We hugged under the trees. The cold inside me finally started to thaw. Maybe this was what a second chance looked like. In January, snowfall quieted the world. On the porch of the house that had become ours, I got on one knee with a simple gold ring. No speeches, no audience. Just us. "Will you marry me? Build something honest, no lies, no games." Tears. "Yes." We held on like we were anchoring to shore. We married in March, exactly a year after the verdict. Small ceremony, closest people only. Marina in a simple white dress with wildflowers. Me in the same navy suit I'd worn to court, but this time it meant beginning, not battle. We exchanged rings, promised honesty, kissed. Alice tossed petals and laughed. They moved into my grandfather's house. We chose furniture together, painted walls, planted the garden. I built a swing for Alice. She called me Uncle Dima, then just Dima. We played hide and seek, built snow forts, flew kites in spring. A month later, a position open in quality control at my plant. Marina interviewed and nailed it. Clear answers, strong ideas. She bloomed back into her profession. We worked in different departments, met for lunch, held hands under the table like teenagers. People whisper at first. Then they stopped. Life settled. That summer, on the porch at dusk, Marina placed my hand on her stomach and smiled through happy tears. I'm pregnant. Joy. Fear. Awe. Hope. All at once. 9 months later, in spring, our son was born. Artyom. I held him, tiny, red, furious at the world, and felt terror and happiness fuse into one flame. My child, my blood, my love, nights blurred, diapers, bottles, lullabies, work half asleep, gratitude fully awake. One day, Gregory Bell, Anna's father, called. We hadn't spoken in a year. He offered to meet at Miles Logistics. The company had rebuilt under Anna's leadership and needed a technical director. Standards, safety, modernization, the whole stack. Triple the salary. Big responsibility. He said he'd learned the hard lesson. Hire people who won't sell their integrity. You turned down a bribe and chose honor, he said. Men like that are rare. Anna recommended me personally. We thought it through. Marina backed me completely. I accepted. I started a month later. Anna, now Belle again, helped me settle in. She was strong, fair, direct. The company's reputation healed. Clients returned. I ran the technical side, trained teams, implemented systems. It felt meaningful. After a few months, I pushed Marina's candidacy for head of quality control. No favoritism, just merit. She interviewed, impressed, and got the job. We worked in the same company, different lanes. People joked about the family duo. We laughed with them. We were a team at work and at home. Marina told me she was pregnant again. We cried and kissed on that same porch. When our son arrived, Alice adored him. Diapers, lullabies, counting games. The house filled with milk and baby powder and laughter. I woke at the first whimper, stumbled to the crib, and sang nonsense in the dark. I was tired. I was alive. Years turned. Greg pled to embezzlement. Suspended sentence, crushing fines, a ruined name. Veronica moved back with her parents, raised the kids mostly alone. He paid minimum support and visited rarely. Their choices, their consequences. I felt no triumph, just distance. The reimbursements paid for the roof, insulation, the porch. The rest I saved. Money didn't bring happiness. Truth did. 2 years after the court date, I stood again on the porch I'd once built in silence. Now there were swings, a sandbox, a long table for dinners, pots of flowers. Artyom chased a bright ball on sturdy toddler legs. Alice taught him to count. Patient as ever, Marina hummed in the kitchen. The smell of roasting meat and pie drifted out the window. I looked at them and realized, without doubt, I was happy. Quietly, completely. Work thrived. The company opened regional branches. Belle trusted me with strategic projects. Anna became a family friend and eventually found her own happiness too. Marina soared. Bonuses, promotion, confidence. We were a team in hardship and in light. Sometimes, during rare midnight silences, I still thought of Emma and Noah, their freckles, serious eyes, their small arms around my neck. Did they remember me? Would they one day read the documents and understand I hadn't abandoned them in anger, but chose in truth to protect my dignity? I hope so. Evenings, we ate on the porch, simple food, simpler talk. Alice described school in sketches. Artyom grabbed at his bowl and laughed. Marina's eyes met mine across the table. Love and gratitude glowing there. I smiled back, warmth spreading through me. This was happiness. Not loud, not showy, real. Before bed, I stepped into the night. Stars pricking the sky, a cool wind carrying the first hint of autumn. Betrayal could have broken me. I chose dignity instead. Revenge wasn't destroying them. They managed that on their own. Revenge was building a better life. Truer, cleaner, quieter than anything before. I chose honor over comfort, truth over pretense. And honor paid me back, with love, with respect, with peace of mind. Not an ending, a beginning. Marina came out, wrapped in a blanket. Cold. I pulled her close. Not when you're here. We watched the city lights together. My past somewhere out there, my future right here, holding my hand.